Should we get my next guest out, ladies and gentlemen? Right, are we? Before we do, let's take a look at them chowing down medieval style.
What is it?
It's the Loch Ness Monster, clearly.
No, you have a cockatrice. It's a cockerel and it's a piglet. Sewn together and stuffed with a stuffing, again with liver, we've got bread in there, eggs, pine nuts and currants again.
I can't abide a bird-pig hybrid without currants, so I'm glad they're in.
They crept into everything, I've noticed, in this period.
It's like some form of sick, genetic, twisted experimentation you've been doing in the kitchen.
This is good.
Oh! I'm expecting to see a sort of flock of birds come out now. I'm not convinced that this is the only layer of
No, there is
subtlety.
this stuffing I need to find as well for you. This is quite brutal. There we are. Look at that. Lovely bit of farce.
That looks madness. Thank you.
Thank you.
It looks really succulent. Amazing.
Very delicious. I feel for that turkey though, getting ramrodded by that piglet.
Please welcome Giles Cohen and Sue Perkins. A bit of a hard kiss I gave
It
you.
was a love squeeze.
Lovely to have you here. Mr. Giles Cohen, the lovely Sue Perkins. Look at that. How lovely to have you here. I'm a huge fan of the Supersizers. Do you watch the Supersizers, ladies and gentlemen? It's a great show. The new series starts this Monday, 9 p.m. on BBC Two. I don't know if you know this. You know who's a big fan of the Supersizers?
No.
Movie star Nicolas Cage.
What, Nicholas the Rock Cage?
I bumped into him and we were chatting about English stuff on TV and he said, you know what show I like on TV? And I assumed he'd say one of mine. No. He said immediately, that show where they eat the funny things.
That could be anything. That's Nigella,
That could have been
Jamie.
MasterChef, it could have been Springwatch.
Any number of porn films.
I cross-questioned him to find out it was indeed you.
Really?
Yeah. He
Where
said,
does he watch it?
I don't know, on TV, he lives in England.
He's got the money to afford a television, to
Yeah.
be fair.
Anyway, he loves it, we all love it. There might be a few people who don't necessarily know what it is. What is the premise, the kind of spurious scientific reason for doing what you do?
We wanted to dress up in silly clothes and the only thing they could possibly think of as an excuse was to give us crappy food to eat.
But it's one of those ideas that once you see it, once you hear it, you think, that's, of course, why didn't someone do this before? It's a brilliant idea.
Why not dress someone up in a toga and make him eat mouse?
Yeah, it's a great idea. Well, and you have actually eaten mouse,
Oh,
haven't you?
yeah.
Yes.
I have.
Yes, it's the last one of this series, is
Okay,
the
so
mouse
you've done the
banquet.
Roman, this is the Roman
Yeah.
feast.
Yeah.
It is, yeah. We could... Dormice are apparently illegal. You
Well, it's
can't-
getting a laugh, but I think you both look very fetching there. People,
See, we'd run out... If I'm honest, Jonathan, can I take you through that? We'd slightly run out of money, and I'm essentially wearing my nan's blanket. That week was... I'm Cleopatra, Queen of Egypt, 99 pence from pound stretcher.
it can be done.
Yeah.
And you look very handsome, if you don't mind me saying so, Giles, and I know that you have quite a few lady fans out there.
Really?
He's not ever going to rest now. That's it.
They're just practising their whistling for Take That, I think. Two of the boys from Take That went for a wee, and I pretended I needed a wee, so I could stand... And they were standing there, both weeing next to each other in the arrangement, and I shuffled up next to them, and it was really close to being in the band. And from behind, there's one extra short one.
Well, it's exciting to be with them, of course, isn't it? OK, let's talk through some of the things you've eaten. We've mentioned mouse, OK, and that's in this series. What does mouse taste like? Is there something that we...
It's a bit like
we
guinea
could compare
pig.
to?
It's got that yielding, moist sensation. Have you got a guinea pig at home?
I've never eaten one.
The kids got
You'll have
one.
eaten cat. It's like that, but stringier, isn't it?
But seriously,
Take
you
a
haven't
little
eaten
nibble on
cat,
the
To be
have you?
honest, absolutely honest with the mice, the Romans used to eat dormice, to fatten them on corn.
And they were a delicacy, weren't they?
We didn't have time, so we had half a dozen mice gassed to death to be fed to snakes from a pet shop. And they fricasseed them up and...
So you fry them. Do they remove the hair first?
Yes, what they do is they
Oh, it comes off
they
like a-
skin them. They
skin
come off
like
like
a glove.
gloves. And then you're left with this sort of skinny, awful-looking thing, and you can either wear it as an earring or pop one before the main
There
course.
can't be a lot of meat on them, is there?
No, and the meat there is not good. It's bad.
There is a kind of a scientific side to it as well, not just in terms of looking how people lived and what they had, but also the effect it would have on your bodies. Because I know before you go into one of these episodes, each one you're kind of like examined, you're looked at, your blood's looked at, all the kind of medical side of life is taken off, and then at the end of it they look at you again to see what changes. which changes, which periods have brought about the biggest changes? Which are the ones that are kind of the least healthy, and which were the most healthy?
No, the first one we started was Edwardian, and they warned us there were going to be problems with cholesterol and heart disease and gout, and so they sent us to the doctor. And I thought I was a fairly healthy man. And they did all these tests. I mean, they found out that I had I had high cholesterol. I had gout already.
Yeah.
Gout's super painful, isn't it? I mean, it's a really bad.
Oh, people make a fuss about it. It's all right.
I put on quite a lot of through the whole thing, and I had my colon lasered, which was nice. And I didn't even know it was being done. Just a man.
You never do.
You never do. They very
laser up the
surreptitiously-
arses.
He lasered your colon.
Well, he was called. Well, I knew there was a problem when I said, "What are you doing, doctor?" And he said, "There's no need to call me doctor," as if to say, "I simply don't have that qualification." And he was just a lovely Dutch guy. And I lay there, and he put on some welding goggles, and I was chatting to him about the 1920s. He said, "Well done, your colon's lasered."
And you know, that clip can be seen on YouTube. Just put in Dutch laser amateur hobbyist. Do you miss modern food much? I mean, other things, because you're a food critic as well, so you
Yeah.
obviously love food. You like kind of, you know, food well prepared. So it must be something which is the worst situation you could find yourself in.
It is. I spend my whole time grumbling about perfectly all right food for a living, and then you get sent back to the Middle Ages, and you realise, Jesus Christ, we're doing all right now.
Makes you feel lucky.
Yeah. I mean, it was. For example, the rich always used to eat meat, and the poor used to eat vegetables. It was all they could afford. And it didn't occur to people to put the two together until about 1930.
Yeah.
So nobody had a good diet. And the idea of a balanced diet is gradually coming together now.
Let me ask you about the areas, the periods you're going back to. Roman is the last one, I believe. You're doing the 80s as well.
Yeah.
Now, is it not a danger you're doing something like the 80s? It's so recent to now that it's not going to be different enough.
I don't really remember the 80s first time around. I've got
There's
no
a picture
idea.
of you in actually the 80s. And may I just say, you
dear.
both look like you belong there. You both look very good in that 80s gear.
Oh, do you think so? That's
do.
very sweet of you.
So what food do we think of as the 80s? What is
Pop-tarts is all
specifically-
anybody ate, surely.
No, but I don't remember Pop-Tarts.
Nouvelle
in the 80s.
cuisine.
Nouvelle cuisine. Little tiny portions.
Tiny portion, massive big plate.
Too fancy.
Pot
Yeah.
noodle? You ate surely
Pot noodle, yes, I encountered pot noodle.
Yeah.
What about booze and stuff? It was a kind of cocktail decade.
Yeah. There was the vomit cocktail. What was that?
It was called a cement mixer, and this is a really good one to try at home. You have a mouthful of Baileys, and you put it in a pouch. I'm presuming, of course,
But
you
you've
are
got-
a vole or something. But you put Baileys in one pouch and some lemon juice in the other, and then just mix it around, and it completely and utterly
It turns to
congeals.
sick. The acid turns
Because,
to
well, you've got... Because Bailey's has cream in it, doesn't
Yeah.
it? So it would curdle in your
curdles.
mouth. That must taste
Yeah,
revolting.
And it's like, it's basically, it tastes like cement. isn't
Okay,
it?
which one is that? Is that the first one of the series?
That's the first one, yeah.
Okay, I'm going to look for that one. Let me ask you about the things you've done, Sue, separate to anyone else. The Maestro thing,
Yes.
where you won the big conducting competition.
Yeah, wave the arms
Well,
thing.
now, this is what a remarkable achievement. Had you done it before?
No, never. I mean, I sort of played the piano a bit, and I sort of thought I might want to be a musician until I realised you had to spend a lot of time on your own in a room doing scales.
Practicing all the time.
And well, you could be in a nightclub doing that, so it was a
Yes.
no-brainer, really.
Yeah.
So,
But
yeah.
but I've seen people conducting, and like most people, like, it looks like anyone could do it quite easily.
Yeah.
It does look like really, you know, because it's basically waving your arms in time, and then
think you
occasionally
can.
you go like that to someone, like you
Yeah.
want to have a fight or something.
Come
That's it.
on.
Yeah, and yet there is more to it than that, presumably.
So they say, I don't know how much of it I got, really. I mean, apparently anyone can beat time, and you're basically a sort of human metronome.
So it's beating time.
Beating
for the...
time, so 1, 2, 3, 4, or 1, 2, 3. But it's the expression you put into it, and eyeball contact, and you know, getting a bit of love from a cello, which is harder than you'd think. And
But why do these people need this from their person? Surely, if you're a professional cellist, for example,
Yeah.
you know how to play the cello, and you
Yeah.
know in the music when it needs a little bit more flourish or
yeah, but that's
twiddling.
just one
If
person.
you didn't go like that, would they not play the
Of course
cello?
they would, yeah.
Well, they
I
not
mean,
play
they're
it as
professional.
well. What would they do? They wouldn't.
Well, they all know how to play brilliantly, better than I could ever play. But what you're doing is you're sort of marshalling a sort of consensual kind of unit. So on their own, they're just a cellist being really good.
Yeah.
But then you put all those cellos together, and you then add some violins and a man with a bassoon.
Let's have a look. This is Sue conducting it's the prom in the park, isn't it? Winning the Maestro competition, and it is such stirring music. Let's have a look. What a great
She looks so sexy doing that.
She looks sexy.
So
And you know what?
sexy.
Not only do you look sexy, also, if you put a little moustache on, you look like a Sparks.
Now that's a thin line there, isn't it? It is. It's sort of. It's weird. It's sort of. It's quite emotional doing that because it's. They just were lovely people who were orchestra. And you look at them and they stare at you with such sort of love and hope and sometimes disappointment.
But presumably you could do that professionally if you're good enough. I mean, you're good enough to do that professionally.
No.
Sort of. Yeah,
No, if I'd known that I could have been, half decent, I might have thought about it when I was 18. But it's too late. I mean, I'm sort of crotchety old woman.
And
I loved it.
there isn't money in it like dressing up as a twat and eating peacock, is there? So...
Hey, how nice to have you. I'm so thrilled you came on the show. I'm a huge fan of the show, and I'm a fan of both of you individually as well. But it's lovely to see you working together. Are you going to work with Mel again ever, by the way?
I'd love to. She's brilliant. I love her very much, and I hope so.
I love seeing you with Mel. I also like seeing you with Giles, so that'll do for now. How great to have you, ladies and gentlemen. The Supersizer starts Monday, 9 p.m, BBC 2. Don't miss it. Mel and Giles, ladies and gentlemen. Sue and Giles. I prefer Mel. What can I say? How lovely. Thank you. Mel and Giles. Should we perhaps get my final guests out, ladies and gentlemen?